This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Find great deals faster.
Hello and welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. This podcast is designed by real people on their journey to achieving financial freedom, and we'll focus on people who've either already attained it, who are joining us on that journey, or maybe a specialist topic that can help you build your technical knowledge to achieving and maintaining that financial freedom. We hope you enjoy it.
Hi folks, and welcome back to the Financial Freedom Podcast. Today is going to be one of our technical episodes, and we're going to be talking about what can go wrong in small scale development. Now, this episode isn't to scare you to not do it. It's to give you practical advice and practical examples as to when this has happened and how you can mitigate those risks along the way. With me, as always, is my podcast co-founder and 20 years of experience in project management, Tim Witt. Welcome, Tim.
Great to be here again. I really love these technical episodes because we could talk about the stuff that we like day out.
You like, generally speaking.
Enjoy.
No, I do as well. You know, it is a thing. So I think it's really important to set this off in the right tone, which is, look, you know, small scale development can go wrong, but there are things you can do, right, to mitigate those things.
Well, not only that, things will go wrong, or there will be challenges all of the time. So it's just having that mindset and that expectation.
Yeah, every project's going to have at least one challenge, right? There's never any
big or small challenges, depending how you look at it, regardless.
But it's about getting everything set up correctly, right? And that's what we're going to cover. And we've focused on 4 key topics. I'm going to answer one. Yeah. You're going to answer the majority, obviously.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
experience. So I'm going to talk about the first issue that we find, and this is program and time delays. So one of the key things is whether or not you're using development funding, or whether or not you're using your own cash, or whether or not you're talking to build it. The key, or you've got investors or whatever. The key thing is time. Yeah. Right. So tell me more about what your experience of this is, and what you think the core reasons for program and time delays are.
Right. So from the outset, I'm going to start off by saying, you know, what is a time? Like, what are the time delays, and like, what is the actual program? Because at the end of the day, if we're doing a small scale development program, generally we've got something like a bridging, you know, finance in place. So the goal is to get the works done and get, say, refinanced within a certain time frame. That's the ultimate program at the end of the day. Yeah. Then sitting beneath
that's your hard stop. Otherwise, it's going to be major problems.
That's your hard stop overall program, isn't it? So you've got the backstop of like, that's when we have to pay it back by. And what we generally do is our reasonable target is to get that done, like, say, 3 months before. So then you've got an extra 3-month contingency on top of the other contingencies you have at the front end. Then the other programs you've got the actual build contract program, you know, and that will be from when they start to when they finish. Then you've got a time program before that, which would be, say, the time between when you complete the purchase to when you actually physically start on site. So that's the time frame. Yeah. Then, like we just said before, you got the build contract on site, and then you've also got, say, a contingency for that program for unforeseen issues or delays that, say, the build is entitled to or not entitled to. That gives you a buffer against that program, because it's very unlikely, you know, if everything goes perfectly, you know, the builder should finish the program. And but the challenges we're talking about that come up, you should have a contingency to work within for that in reasonable expectation time period.
Yeah, and there's also things that, you know, are commercial and risk balanced, right? In that what you said there. So as an example, if I want to take out a development loan and I want to take it out over 12 months, but my program is going to take 9 months, and my refinance is going to take 2 months, you've not got a lot of contingency there. Yeah. So your commercial risk balance is, well, it might be cheaper for me to do it over a 12-month loan. Yeah. But I know that I'm pushing it, and if it goes over, I'm going to suffer those costs.
It's a very fair point.
But if you take a loan over 18 months for the same project, as an example, you know, you might get less funds up front because they're going to retain more interests, or they're going to push a little bit harder on the loan terms or whatever, and therefore you get less money up. So you can put more cash in. So the risk balance on that is, well, I know I might go over. Yeah. And if I do, I've already made that decision up front. The worst case scenario is you haven't made that decision deliberately. You haven't costed the time properly, and then you go over anyway, right?
Yeah. It's like anything. There's a balance to it. Yeah. Because if you push it too fine, you're stressed out from the outset. You don't have enough contingency. And then, like you said, you push the time frame too long. As an investor, you probably haven't put too much money from the outset. It's probably not viable. So usually the best solution is somewhere in the middle between those things, and working that out is a skill.
And the second thing that you mentioned there, which is another commercial balance, is the time it takes you from purchase to start on site.
Yeah.
if you are willing to spend a bit of money pre-purchase,
Yeah.
you can get a lot of your pre-construction activities done. Your design, that kind of stuff. If you don't do those things, then if you're using funding as an example, they may only lend you for the purchase.
Yeah.
They may not confirm your bridging, your development loan until you do those things, which are way far beyond that. And then you've got your own tender process that might take a few weeks.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to spend that money beforehand, your commercial risk is that you don't end up buying the property, and that funds is wasted, right?
Yeah, there's funds risk up front with where you're talking about. So you're setting up the on-site project for more success because you're doing more work up front. But if that sale falls through or you can't go through with it for whatever reason, then you've paid out that funds that you basically don't get a result for or a return for.
So I think that highlights a lot of the program risks. If you don't do the pre-construction, and your time during post-purchase is going to be longer. And if you try and shorten a loan period because it gives you more funds up front, then you're taking the risk of that loan going over. Default on a loan.
So I think, so I'll go into the initial delays. So
let's go on to time delays. Yeah,
time delays. So firstly, the one we said was time delays to say getting onto site in between purchasing the property and getting onto site. So first one could just be, you've got a builder on board, but they're just not available as quick as you need them. So, simple solution for that is clear communication up front, knowing they have the availability. It's forward planning really when you're running a tender process that you've got, say, 3 or 4 contractors, and you know that they've got the teams that are going to be available because you've communicated the timeframes, or as best you can the timeframes at the time to plan it out.
Yeah, because we had a conversation recently with the builder. We sat down, had a cup of tea with him, and we loves to chat. So that cup of tea should have been 10 minutes, about 10 hours. But he won't listen to this.
He might.
He won't. We love him anyway. He is brilliant. And just that clarity is key, isn't it?
Yeah. And we have those consistent, I'd say, sort of monthly catch-ups where we go through,
so you can start on this date if you so wish. If you want to start later, you tell us and we will work the program to that process, Mr. Builder. But
if we're going to delay we're going to delay the completion 2 or 3 weeks to line it up, we know that, we can do those things. But it's just general communication, isn't it, to get that result?
Do you know the one that I see as well? Is that we're talking here about having the builder timelines lined up, and if you don't do those pre-construction activities, that you're doing those after you bought the building. The key one is there might be pre-start conditions.
Yeah, planning pre-start conditions. Yeah, pre-commencement conditions.
Ecology surveys.
Yeah.
What? Like you might have to wait 8 months to do that.
Yeah. So when you get your planning period, it's a really, really good point. Check the planning conditions. See what's pre-commencement and pre-occupation. Because ultimately they will affect you starting on site.
The rule of thumb is if you're demolishing anything and it has a roof, be careful.
Yeah.
Because
there's general
roosting potentials.
There's general potentials. Yeah. And there's also general requirements like an asbestos survey that you legally have to do. You've got to do the pre-construction health and safety works for CDM regulations. Yep. You have to do your building control notices. Depending on the size of the project, you might have to do your F10 notification for HSE.
Yeah.
Why are you smiling?
I'm smiling because we're talking about the CDM regulations. All I can think of is we did CDM regulations, we did HSE regulations, and I once attended during strip out and I left the site immediately. I was just like, not the
best time to visit site. No. Anyway, swiftly moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on, and now we're getting to site, say. So then it's you get on-site delays. Yeah. So, if your builder is delayed with the works, labor and materials, those things can happen.
There's two parts to this though, right? There's one which is delays due to effectively just not doing the work. And then there's delays due to unforeseen circumstances.
Yes.
And those two should be treated entirely separately, right, in my opinion.
Yes. So if you got a build contract in place, we talk about on this podcast, the JCT contract.
You should have.
Yeah, you should have.
Yeah.
The builder has set and clear responsibilities. So simple things are their labor force. If they're under, if their guys don't turn up to site when they should and stuff like that, that's their responsibility. That's not an unforeseen issue. That's just for them to manage. Materials, again, are their responsibility. Where it gets grayer is unforeseen. It's called a force majeure.
Or major force majeure is major stuff. Acts of God, right? So it's,
basically they are complete unforeseen events.
Yeah,
so where the grey areas in that is like the builder's responsible for the plaster material.
Yeah.
But when you get a pandemic and they physically can't get plaster
great example
for like 3 weeks, technically under the contract, they could still be entitled to an extension, even though they're generally responsible for the materials. But if it falls under that category, it could be an unforeseen problem. So there's those things. But I think the solutions for these sort of things is literally just set the builder up for
If that ever happens again, by the way, and it looks like we're going in, something's going to happen in the pandemic, I'm going to hire a warehouse. I'm going to buy as much building material as I can. I'm going to put it in there and put a lock on the door. Because I'd be able to sell that about 2 months later for double what I bought it for, I reckon.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Well, maybe there's some theories out there that, people did that anyway or whatever. So who knows? Yeah, sorry, I was talking about solutions here. So obviously setting up the contractor for success, giving everything they need and the project requirements up front will help that process as much as possible. Clear timeframes agreed, clear start dates agreed up front. That communication will help. With the materials that we talked about, another key thing is specifying materials that don't have long lead-in times. So if you want good quality materials that are a good price, don't specify something that has to come from the other side of the world or whatever, or Italy or something like that. Just something that's already local.
I want granite tiles from the quarry in Texas. Or
So we call them in construction proprietary items, which mean that they're like easily, readily available. So if you specify those materials, then the builder won't go, oh, I'm waiting on tiles that are coming in 6 weeks or whatever. So they might, even though it's their responsibility under the contract, they just didn't know that there was a lead in on that product and it's causing a problem. Also consider, we talk about, delay damages of contractors for the contract that, if it's their responsibility, there's delay damages to protect the investor, but it also incentivizes the builder to stick to the time frame. Also on the flip side, if they finish early, what can you do?
Because you could write in a bonus scheme.
Because we talk about it like, it's costing investor money and finance and lack of rent and all those sort of things. But if a builder finishes early, you've got the bonus of those things. So why not pay them the bonus?
Awesome. Absolutely.
And then obviously we talked about it before, but reasonable contingency in place, to cater for these for these challenges.
100%. And that's not just so if you're just going to beat people with sticks all the time, they're not going to work for you. Right? So
you're not going to get anywhere, are you?
No. And so LADs is what we call it.
Liquidated and ascertained damages is that terminology.
So liquidate damages. So basically you've run over due to issues that were in your control. Wholly. Therefore, I have had a cost. We have pre-agreed in our contract a penalty for that against the contract value. Let's say it's £500 a week. You've been 4 weeks over. I mean, it's two grand down. Now, if you want, this comes down to fairness as well, right?
So 100%.
It depends on how the builder's acted, in my opinion, some ways. So if he knew he fell behind and he's just been through an absolute trauma and all that kind of thing, if it's not physically penalized you too badly, and you've got ages for your loan and it's just a little bit of time, you might not want to put that. You might not want to say, right, I'm going to beat you with a stick. And
so a bit of an example is that is, let's say the builder's contract is say 16 weeks. Maybe it was quite tight anyway. Let's say you had a 2-month contingency for your overall program. And the builder finishes within that contingency.
That's it. Your contingency.
Your own contingency. So you're not really expecting them to finish on that 16 weeks anyway.
We have a minimum.
It's not really going to cost your loan overrun or anything like that. Why do you need to enforce it necessarily? If it's substantially longer and it has cost you and you're facing repossession and you've got big penalty costs and all these sort of things. That's a bit different, isn't it?
100%. And that's the thing, isn't it? If you've had to like pay back a bridging loan, you have to borrow money, finishing monies and stuff like that, and it's just that is different. If you've not got a contingency in your timeline, then that's your problem, in my opinion. I mean, if the builder says 16 weeks and you've not got, if he finishes in 20, I'm going to pay him, then that's the or her.
So obviously, during the project on site works, you want to monitor the work. So you always want a clear schedule of, a program of the works, say in a Gantt chart week by week, so you can monitor. This is if you're monitoring yourself as an investor developer or you got a project manager. So you always know where it is against that. And if they are behind that program on the critical path of that program, it's simply just asking them what are you going to do to catch up that time? And sometimes they already have a plan. So instead of just going, it's definitely going to finish late, You know, sometimes they go, I'm a bit slower in this area, but then I've got a really good team of, say, boarders and plasterers or whatever. So by the time the plastering's finished, I've caught it back. So, you know, you're not going to stay behind. They're going to catch up the time. You know, sometimes they might work extra hours or weekends or things like that to catch up. You know, there's those sort of things as well. So
8 to 1 on Saturdays, all right. That's it.
Depending your planning conditions.
If any planning people are listening to our project that do our projects,
obviously there's the there's noisy works requirements and planning guidelines and all these sort of things.
We always stick within the timelines. Yeah,
we of course we always stick within the planning guidelines.
Yeah, and the critical thing is you want to get your project finished as well at the same time. So there's no point kicking and screaming. The key thing, like, if you haven't got a time agreed and it's contractually obliged and everything is being given to the builder for them to achieve that goal, then you have to look at yourself first.
Yeah.
So if you, as an example, I'm going to go into costs in a minute, but costs and time are, you know, aligned.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you haven't, as an example, given
they correlate, don't they?
A finishing schedule to a builder that you're happy with.
Yes.
And you just say, oh, I want this. I want this to look nice. I've heard this. I want it to look great.
Very good example.
You know, that's subjective, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you, like you said, don't have a finished specification and the builder is on site building what they think is right, you go to site and say, I don't like that. I want this. There's either rework, they've then got to order the new materials. So it's not like you said, it's not just a cost impact. It's like, what time is it going to hold up that project from moving forward to the next stage?
And also, when the consultants in the process or the third parties in the process give an instruction, make sure that you as the owner understand what that is as well as the builder, right? Because, you know, once builders don't like paper, they don't really like contract, you know, they just want to agree a price and get on with things, right? So when building control come out and they say, you know, all of these things need to be done, you need to take the time to walk that through and so the builder understands, because what you don't want to do is get to the end of the project, building control come out and say all of this stuff needs to be redone when they told you 3 inspections ago or whatever, 2 inspections ago. You need to do it there and then. And if you haven't taken the time to understand it yourself, again, you're looking at yourself, aren't you?
Yeah.
So let's move on to costs, if that's good.
So I just finished like a couple of examples of program delay. So I'll talk about a small project and a big project. So we had a 5-bed HMO conversion recently. It was basically just poor performance from the contractor under their contract. So I suppose the solution is obviously, we think it's hard to know the exact reasons why, because we're not into the detail of that contracting company's, you know, labor force and how he's running his business, stuff like that.
Well, one of the key things is always like the contractor's taking on too much work.
Yeah.
You know,
so potentially too much work, cash flow was possibly hit a bit. You know, and he struggled to get the
personnel issues,
the labor and stuff like that. So it's generally possibly due to those things. He had done other good projects for us before that contractor. The solution obviously was, you know, we got there, but it was late. So by having the team behind it and also the key, you know, kickers of those contract conditions and the, you know, the threats of, say, the LEDs, the delay damages in place, you know, we protect the client. And also by having a thing called like retention on the back end. So they're pushed to get the quality right, to hand over and certified, you know, and to, you know, to get the payment on the back end, and, you know, they've got the delay damages and all those sort of things. So by having those things, the end result wasn't what it should have been, but by having those things in place, you mitigate the issue to the best possible result in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it's because you've agreed everything up front.
Yeah.
You're not screaming on site. You're not having a screaming match on site, right? Because everything's clear and where the responsibilities and the timings lie are clear.
Yeah.
So then it's just about getting to the project completion, encouraging the builder to do that.
Yes.
And then executing whatever needs to be executed.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Because one of the things that I see is builders walk off site.
Yeah.
Because they've had enough of they don't want to be treated like that, you know.
And then you're possibly in a worse situation. Sometimes you could be in a better situation because you could bring someone in that could deliver it, say, quicker.
Yeah.
May not be within the same budget, but if you've got a similar contractor that can come in, might actually be a better result. And then an example of, say, a bigger project, and I'll keep this relatively short because it's a long story, but I did a big 260 unit development in Newcastle, and the stone cladding that was specified because of its location was actually, I can't remember if it was selected by the council specifically or in conjunction with the architect, but either way, it was a planning condition for this cladding.
Oh, no.
So it was like it was this stone material, and I just remembered actually you could only quarry it in Dumfries in Scotland and maybe one other place, and then there's only 2 places in the world that it could be cut into the precision sizing for the cladding. I can't remember if it was like one place was Texas and one was Italy, and it ended up going from Scotland to Texas to get cut. Came back and it was hugely delayed. The contractor actually chose Texas because they had a better track record than the Italian ones, because they just shut down randomly and stuff like that. But we got the project finished, everything inside, and then at the end of the completion, it was like half the cladding was still left to be done, and that was due to one material.
And if that's been conditioned though by the council, they're liable for that.
No, you're opening up a big can of worms there, so I'm just going to leave that.
I would say that.
So you threw me a bit off track there, but basically that one specification affected that result regardless. You know, potentially if it was something else, proprietary item, it would have been fine. But the key there again was, as the project managers, we negotiated that risk to sit within the build contract.
Yeah.
So even though it was specified wrong, you know, the builder had to deliver, and there were damages in place for that. So
stop the podcast now. This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Property Filter is the #1 property tool for today's property professional. It brings in all the data points and sources from all the property portals and auction sites into one convenient place. Then you have the option to overlay all the clever strategies found in the Property Filter blueprint to find motivated sellers faster. Now, we use it on a daily basis. It saves us over 80% of our time when looking for properties. And if that sounds like something that you want in your lives, please go to register.property-filter.co.uk/PPB, which is the discount code for this podcast. You will get 2 weeks free and a discount on your first month. That's it from me. Back to the podcast.
So the next logical issue is then cost overruns, right? Which is, how do they happen? And obviously we covered a lot of that in the cost overruns. Time is a cost.
Yeah.
Number one, both on the cost to you for having a property that isn't tenanted or sold, the capital cost to you if you borrowed, all that type of stuff. So we're going to leave that in point 1 that we've already discussed. We're going to move on to other types of costs that might occur, and when things might go wrong in a small scale development. So what are your opinions on those things?
Well, for cost overruns, there's 3 stages that can go wrong. A, the budget's wrong in the first place.
Yep.
B, when you run, say, the tender process for the contractors, it's over. And then C, during the project, there's a lot of variation costs. They're the 3 ways that you can have cost overruns. Some projects or some investors, unfortunately, have the triple whammy of all of those things.
So let's treat them in isolation then. So the first one is the budget.
Yeah.
Well, how do we make sure that it's right in the first place?
Yeah. So to make sure it's accurate in the first place, you just need to be clear of your numbers and what's included. Yeah. So by having a clear scope of works and the inclusions and things like that, and also knowing and, you know, having previous cost information of similar scope and those sort of contractors, you can accurately price something. So a little bit of that is all that work up front and all that experience up front.
And if you don't have the experience, what are you looking to do?
Well, you need to team up with people that do have the experience, whether it's a quantity surveyor or a project manager or people who work those roles.
I'm going to put a caveat on that you want those people to have done your size and type of project.
100%, yeah.
If you instruct somebody who hasn't, they're not going to give you the right pricing because they're just guessing.
Yeah, and they might be very conservative as well, and then that's just gonna, you know, you're gonna look and go, oh, geez, this doesn't stack up anymore. Whereas actually, you can deliver it.
Yeah, it
is a really fine balance because you can really undercook that budget up front, and you can really overcook that budget up front. So it is definitely a niche. It's definitely a skill. And you're right, even if you talk to the professionals, it needs to be the right professional for the right type of project that really has experience in that field.
And the best way to do it is the same when you're selecting a builder. The best way to do it is to talk to people who have done those types of projects. Who did they use to get to that position? Don't just go on Google and go, I need a quantity surveillance area. References,
recommendations got to be the number one. And you talk through the client they've worked with them. How did that process go and what did they do?
Yeah, because if you've got a quantity surveyor who's used to doing historically listed buildings in Bath, and then you ask them to do a HMO in Wigan, the cost isn't going to be the same.
Very good example.
You know.
Or,
No offense to either of those places, by the way. One's not too pricey and one's not too low. It's just different.
Yeah. And like professional project managers and quantity surveyors that deal with bigger projects, bigger contractors and things like that, they will just price it. Their cost plan will be different. It will be double of what you're expecting and stuff like that potentially. Which doesn't mean that those contractors wouldn't do that project for that cost.
Yeah.
But they're not the right contractor for your project.
And it leads into the cost plan and then the builder.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? That is a big
So next stage is, so you got your initial appraisal budget and that's accurate. And it's accurate because of the builders that you've got to price in your works and your specification that's in place.
Yeah.
So if the specification is clear and to what you need to do, and then you've got the right size builders that are going to deliver that specification within that budget, then you run a tender process. And let's say you're getting 3 or 4 prices, they're pretty much all around that mark. There might be slight variances or whatever for various reasons, but you're comparing apples for apples.
And we've seen it, right? So we've had clients who've said, oh, this builder, a friend of mine, can he quote please for my project?
Yeah.
Thinking he's going to get some kind of mates rates.
Yeah.
Or whatever, way off
the mark. Yeah. Because it's not their niche, is it?
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing.
Their niche is barn conversions in Cheshire or something.
They're trying to do something like do you a favor. They probably don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You've probably asked them a question. They don't want to let you down. So they're now relying on us to say no.
Yeah.
And I think it was like on a project and value of about 120,000, I think their price came in like 50 grand more.
Yeah.
It was massive. It was like a third more.
Yeah. Good example. And then the third stage for budget and cost is variations on site.
Yeah.
So again, this ties back to the stage before. The better that stage before has been run and planned and specified and documented, the less wriggle room there are for variations during the project.
Yeah.
Because it's very, very clear what they need to do and deliver within what time frame.
And to the quality.
That's
so important.
Yeah, 100%.
Builders pride themselves on the first and second fixes. What you see is the finishes.
Yeah.
So, and there's a big disconnect there because pretty much not a lot of the contractors like doing the finishes.
Yeah.
And the finishing teams are not necessarily the ones that they pride themselves on.
Yeah.
So you just got to understand that. And if you haven't specified the quality and you go in a redo for anything or replace anything, that's your fault.
Yeah. 100%.
That is a variance to the contract because you've not asked for it and then you ask for it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got it up front with a full specification, then it's part of the contract price.
Yeah, it ends up being what the builder has quoted for compared to expectations, just being very widely apart. And that will cause budget overruns because they're not delivering what you're expecting. So you need to bring them up to your expectation. And that's a lot more money to get there.
The other type of variance is the unknown, right?
Yeah.
Which is normally, strip it out, you can see everything.
Yeah. So if you've specified everything you possibly can, scoped up everything you can, and it physically is only the things that you really don't know, that's when you can have a reasonable managed contingency sum. If your spec is half done, then you've got a specification or scope that's you're going to get loads of variations for regardless. And then you add on top of that unforeseen issues that come out during the build. You get the double whammy.
And you've probably not done your contractor interview. You've probably not done the payment schedules. You've probably not done all those things.
Yeah.
It's just a massive cost-based exercise.
The other one as well, depending on where your risk lies in the contract, but these small-scale developments, like building control changes, are generally developers' risk.
Yeah, they are.
Not the contractors, because if you did like a design and build contract where they're responsible, their price would be way too high. It wouldn't be in budget anyway. So building control and people like that can come out to site, request changes. That can cost money as well. There are ways to manage that, relationships with them, understanding the regs, plan checks in the first place, and all those sort of things.
Getting things checked as early as possible as well, because if you in your scope have said 2 building regulatory standards signed off by building control, and then you say to the building control, this is everything that's going in. Can you please now at this point agree that this is correct early? Then you'll catch it early. If you just say, building control and nobody meets them, they just have a wander around. Isn't this lovely? Their first report's just going to be, everything seems to be all right. And then the fourth report goes, right, this now I can see this completed. Those ducts need replacing, or this needs digging, or that needs doing, and this needs doing. And you could have caught it. You need to make the effort to go and meet those people and get everything detailed. Go through the plan, show the material, show the specifications, and if you can, get their opinion and agreement as early as possible.
The other one I've just thought about is EPC assessment early doors as well. Because if you need to achieve let's say obviously you want to achieve a C to future proof it.
Yeah.
If you hadn't gone through that design with an EPC assessor early doors and designed your tender pack based on it, that could cost you later as well.
And there could be a difference between an assessor and a certifier as well. You need somebody who can do actual EPC calcs.
Yeah, ideally you want someone that will input early doors for your design. That will give you the certificate at the end. Yeah.
So I've got a couple of examples.
Yeah.
Just on variations. So we stripped up a floor. We knew there was a floor collapsing at the front of the building.
Yeah.
So we budgeted for that.
Yeah.
Then when we took up the floor,
because that was seen, wasn't it? Like you could easily scope it. The floor was literally caving in.
But so we budgeted to replace the floor in the bit that we could see in the basement.
Yeah, in the build contract is the way.
In the build contract. Yeah. In the basement to the front of the property.
Yeah.
But there was no access to the rear.
Yeah.
And yet in the rear we thought it was a slab.
Yeah.
When we took the floor up, it wasn't. It was more joists.
Yeah.
And there was a gap, like a basement that was unaccessible. And they also needed.
And they were right as well.
Yeah. So let's replace the whole thing.
It's a very good example. So we budgeted the whole amount, but the front area was budgeted in the build contract price. The rear section that we replaced was contingency. So it was all budgeted, but
I was in the price.
Yeah. So it was all within budget. But like you said, half of it was in the contract, half of it was contingency. So that's a really good example.
So and then here's the one that's everyone's worst nightmare. What happens when somebody fundamental to your project goes bust?
Yeah, so like a builder.
Yeah, builder, utilities company.
Yes.
All of those things.
I've had both.
Yeah, absolutely.
A few times.
This can happen, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not responsible for their...
So I suppose in the first instance, you try and limit this. There's some good accounting checks you can do and all those sort of things. You can look at cash flows, credibility, time in business, all this sort of thing. You can do them up front. But the reality is a builder can be very, very healthy at the start of your project from a financial perspective. And then some things change a few months later. Other projects go badly or whatever. Who knows? There's loads of reasons. And then during your build, that's
bang.
it.
Yeah.
Bang. They're unfinancial. They're shutting shop. That's it.
They can't pay the guys. They can't pay the suppliers. Done.
Yeah.
So what happens then?
So it's a very good question. So in the first instance, to mitigate the circumstance is to have backup plans. Yeah. So we talk about in our business, we have like 4 or 5 panel builders. They're their own contractor, but they're all very good builders in that niche for good price, good quality to program, all those sort of things. So they're very much the same, similar sort of builders. So if one was to go bump, we pay them to works they've done to date. So the cost risk is
that's so important,
limited.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I agree to if you're new to the industry and you're new to a builder, and that builder's saying, "Listen, we don't know each other.
Yeah.
I need some financial support to start my project here because they may not want to take the risk on you." But that should be really to do with materials that you've paid for.
Yeah, and a reasonable sum as well. So 5-10 grand maybe or something like that.
Yeah.
Not your 40K or whatever.
Value or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but also don't forget with a build contractor, depending how many projects you've done, but if it's the first with you, you can always tell them, look, I've got references from other people that I've worked with for the last X amount of years. I'm very happy for you to talk to them, talk about our track record. You can look at all these other things that we've done. So you can put him to comfort in lots of other ways.
Like we're lucky now because we do quantum of projects. Builders don't want payment up front; they just want payment for the job, right, necessarily. But if you do that, then it's like, well, actually, you want to work together, and you want to pay the builder something if they need it to get the material.
Yeah, so you want to agree the terms and swiftly pay them.
Yeah, because
they've got a business to run, they've got profit to make.
Yeah.
Don't hold it back any longer than it needs to, but protect your risk, pay them. Protect your risk, pay them. That's just how it works. So my point is, they go bump. You've really only paid them for works completed to that point. So if you bring in another contractor, also during the process, you've done a bit of QA and building control inspections along the way. So let's say they go bump halfway through, that
kind of know where you are.
Building control say have signed off pretty much everything to that point.
Yeah.
So if because what happens is the new contractor goes in and is like, that's bad. I wouldn't do that. Wouldn't do that. It's like, hang on.
Hate each other.
Yeah, exactly. Regardless of what the quality is, you say, hang on, we've checked all this. Building control were literally here on Tuesday. There's no issues raised or
it's like an employee being replaced.
Yeah.
It's like an employee starts and all that, you see it all the time. The first month is like, the previous person was awful. I'm the best.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same with the building program. Right?
And don't forget, some builders do things differently. So some might use like a metal stud and some might use a timber stud and they have forever. So they're just like, well, I don't want to use metal for studs. I want timber. It's like, well, it's already done.
late,
Just
it's done now.
start boarding or whatever.
We'll say that's not your responsibility.
Yeah. So anyway, you have that plan. So you got other people that can come in, take over the work. You know, that is the solution. But being clear where the work is, what's left to do, how much money's left to do it. So when they do go,
create a new scope of works.
Yeah. Yes.
Which captures.
Yeah. You could literally get your previous, say, tender contract scope of works, cross out the things that have been done.
Yeah.
And then just say, this is it from here. And let's say in your budget, you've got, 75K to pay the previous builder. Mm-hmm. The new builder comes in and goes, all right, I can do it for 80. It's not the end of the world, is it? Like,
no, it should be so.
You've lost $5,000 in that process, but it could be much, much worse.
Yeah.
You might even
if you haven't ever been to site and you don't have somebody to use your eyes and ears, you don't really have a project manager.
Yeah.
You don't have don't know where you're up to, or you don't really have a scope.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You may as well be repaying, right?
Yeah.
Start again.
Yeah, and the other key thing is move quickly, because obviously if it's your project, you want to get it done efficiently. So don't ponder it. Just get in there and do it. So I've had a couple of examples, small scale development. One was a commercial to resi conversion. Literally, builder called me. It was like, this is sort of during the COVID times. So we had financial problems because of materials and contracts being too or whatever. Just rang me that night and just said, that's it. I'm sorry, I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But then literally I think it was either that night or the next morning, I was talking to people. I'm like, need to get someone involved in this. Can you come and have a look at it, blah, blah, blah. And it was literally moving the next day. And actually the end result was cheaper than what the original contract, not by a lot, but
can't always promise that though.
I know, but like this is it's not a usual circumstance. So I don't know if I should say it, but it finished quicker than the actual original contract and it was slightly under budget.
Yeah.
And one of those
poor choice in the first.
And one of the builders is one that was really good, that does a lot of work for us, and that was the first one he did for us.
Yeah.
So sometimes shit like that happens can actually be a real positive, which is weird.
Yeah. Cool. Final point. This is you to me.
Right. So I want to so from your perspective, you started doing this, say 2020 or thereabouts, last 5 or 6 years. We've been working together.
Yeah. From not over 20 years of not qualified person.
And obviously you've really niched in this small scale development space because you weren't doing those other big build projects that I did and stuff like that. But from your experience, what do you think are any other big issues that come in as part of these sort of developments?
Yeah, I think you've covered like most of the like critical ones. So, having a really, everything that is documented. Yeah, it's the right size builder, it's the right size QS, it's the right size person to manage those projects.
Yeah.
It's the right size of everything. It's generally the way I would say it. It's like if you go outside of that, then you're risking everything. In my opinion, your budget's going to be all over.
Yeah, there's no point trying to get a square peg in a circle hole.
No,
stuff like that.
Absolutely. But what I found is that because obviously we deliver a quantum of projects. So if we're being practical in that 5 years, I've probably been involved in more projects than most landlord developers will do in their lifetime.
Yeah, right? We've done other big
hell of a lot, right? So my learning curve on projects has been
exponential,
quite significant, and I could probably get through one myself on my own as I stand right now. But
you easily could. We've got a system and operational fold.
Even now, with all of those experiences, I'm not sure I'd want to.
Yeah,
and the reason for that is my number one thing is you are the problem.
Yeah,
as the owner of the property, right? So, and this isn't an insult to anybody because I'm qualifying myself in this. Like if I'd have done my first project, which was that 11 income stream project, 1 flat, 6-bed HMO, 4-bed HMO, if I'd have done that myself, what a nightmare that'd have been, right? 2 lots of planning, all that kind of stuff. And the thing is, the things that you don't understand is the nuances. It's the nuances that get you. So it's the planning nuances, as an example.
Yeah.
Planning takes much longer than you think it's going to be. Things like ecology, nightmare, bats. A low risk of bats is not no bats, so if you remove something,
bureaucracy that comes out.
Yeah. So if you've not done all your pre-construction works before you buy a property, which includes planning, and you're thinking you're going to be on site within a 3-month period, that's the British. I don't think you are. Because something's going to stop you from doing that. The red tape is incredible. Legal stuff, legal timings. If you think about the things that we've had to do to get deals over the line, purchases, overages, title problems. We've got one at the moment. It's been nearly 12 months.
And that is the challenge we talked about earlier with knowing the timeframes to start on site and communication back to the builders, because, conveyancing and the legal aspects can be quick, can be slow, can be challenging. So it's all part of it, isn't it?
Yeah. And then fixing things by underestimating. And what I mean by that is, my deal doesn't quite work, so I'm just going to say my kitchens are going to be like £1,000 less than they're going to be. It's start like manipulate.
False economy.
Yeah, exactly. Manipulate the numbers to make it work. That doesn't work. I see it all the time, and it ends up not working. And then you celebrate it at the end of the project because you got through the project, and you're telling people how great it was. And in secret, I'm sure you're crying into your milk every morning because you've spent too much money, or you've not gonna.
Just to caveat that slightly, sometimes I go into the appraisal, we're looking at like an offer, and I'm like, oh, that is a bit high or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not manipulating. It's just like looking at it, actually, that you need to be a bit more efficient. So fresh eyes and getting it efficient is fine, but don't then fudge it to like get the deal to work, like you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, like in my presentation, because obviously we presented things, I've got it like, apparently you need to write something down 5 times before you understand it.
All right, yeah.
So I've got it written down 6 times on my presentation on one slide, which says, don't manage your own projects. It says it 6 times. And I would say that even for a project manager.
Yeah,
it's your
100%.
Get someone else.
Yeah.
If you're going to be, the best thing you can be.
Also, we have a team of project managers that, do the day-to-day for us. And you said, our projects, they're doing the day-to-day project management.
Yeah, we're paying them to, we're
paying them as project managers.
And the thing about it is once you become that investor mindset, do that, right? Be the entrepreneur. And the key problem with entrepreneurs are, they feel like, and I was the same. Yeah. Well, maybe not as much because I got used to it. But which was I can do everything. Yeah. And I can do it better.
Yeah.
Right. Which in the reality is I was the same 10 years ago when I was in just hardcore sales. Yeah. If I didn't do it, nobody would do it as good as I would do it. Yeah. And I could solve every problem and everything like that. But that's not true, right? That you can solve the problem by having the right people. Yeah. By understanding the right things. Yeah. The things that you need to understand are, have I got the right size builder? Have I got the right size project manager? Have I got the right size cost estimate? Have I got the right size appraisal?
I think it's also...
those are things you need to understand.
Yeah.
Doing the day-to-day, I'd just say, listen, get a professional to do that for you.
Yeah. I think just to add to that as well, I think as the developer or the business owner, you're good from an overarching perspective to keep these people and teams accountable. So don't get in the way of the day-to-day.
But hold them to the...
But the classic thing I see is like quantity surveyors or project managers, they just want an easy life sometimes. The ones that either aren't as good or just used to an easy life, and they'll just be too conservative. It's like, well, actually, I've got information from these last 30 projects that says we can deliver it at this rate. Why are you saying it's high? And it's just because they're being lazy, basically.
The classic that I see is the front end classic, which is I'm going to borrow 70% and 100% because I've been on a training course, right? And you can't do that, so it's going to cost you more. So then all of a sudden your cost plan's a little bit all over the place, and you say, right, I'm still going to press ahead with the deal, even though I can't borrow that. I've got a bit more money. Okay, I'm going to find a private investor or whatever. Yeah. And you go to the development lender, you say, right, I'm going to use up all these things. I'm going to use private money over here. I'm going to do that over there. And they say, right, this is what you can do. Where's your cost plan? And you go, what do you mean? Have you got a builder lined up? Who have they got insurances? Who's because they want all that information, and you've gone to them too early. And it's like you've already cost yourself loads of money at this point. Like time, energy, and then you go to somebody else, a third party, they're going to cost it differently, and it's too late. Get it in early. Tell people what you want and get those people in as early as possible to help you do it. That's the way I would do. I would negotiate that as a space, because fundamentally are at fault for everything. Yeah. Everything is your fault. So if you start with that and you say, right, what are the things that can go wrong? And I'm going to solve those problems at the right time. You need to front load everything. Yeah. So having the right team in place from as early as possible.
And also as the entrepreneur or the property developer, think about the key things that, the higher value things you need to do. Yeah. Ultimately, a project manager is not going to raise funds for your project. And they're not going to do your social media for you and build up a following or whatever and all those sort of things.
When people were being trained originally in how to do, small scale property development, the regulation was lower, the licensing was lower and probably non-existent. And those things have accelerated. Yeah. And the training programs haven't, so they don't deal with it. Yeah. They don't teach you. Yeah. Which is why it's no longer BRRR, because that's very small scale. Now it's by develop. You are a developer as soon as you start.
BDRR is what we call it. Yeah, absolutely.
And if you don't know the regulations, get someone that does. Yeah, that's the way I would explain it.
Yeah, you need to. Yeah, lovely. All good stuff.
Good stuff.
I think that's it.
Yeah, good.
Don't
So-
get scared off.
Yeah,
but,
things can go wrong, but as long as you do the right things, you have the right team.
and
That's
it's
what we're saying.
understanding, isn't it? Knowledge is key, isn't it? At the end of the day. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us again on the Financial Freedom Podcast. Don't forget to like or subscribe on whatever platform you are viewing today on to be up to date with our new technical episodes and interviews with people who are either on their journey or who have already attained financial freedom. Good luck with your projects, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye for me.
See you on the next one.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you once again for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. If you want to get in touch with us about today's podcast or any of the learning topics that we've gone through today, you can email us at podcast@invest-prop.co.uk or get in touch with us with whichever your social media platform of choice is. If you think you would add value to us as a guest on this podcast, you can please get in touch and let us know what you would be able to talk to us about. Other than that, we wish you well on your financial freedom journeys. And once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.